Is Bibao with Tarawa Nights right here on Early Edition with Ete. Time is 7 minutes past 11 on your station, 5:31 PI, bringing Pacific people together. Grace Sarina Hutton has been recognized for services to Pacific art and the community in this year's Queen's New Year's Honours List, where she has received a Queen's Service Medal. Grace Hutton is currently the chair of the Cook Islands Society Wellington and has been an active member of Pacifica Wellington Central Women's Group since 2012. Grace was part of the project team developing the Museum of New Zealand Te Papa Tongarewa in the 1990s and has been kaitiaki taonga of Pacifica cultures at Te Papa since 2004. She has mentored Pacific Museum interns and volunteers, helping them get established and develop their understanding of working with collections. Grace Hutton has been recognized for services to Pacific art and the community in this year's New Year's Honours List as a Queen's Service Medal recipient. She joins us in the studio now. Kia orana and congratulations, Grace.
Kia orana. Thank you. Me te mata.
Oh, wow, what a career you've had. But let's go back to the beginning. Where were you born and what has brought you on this journey where you are now in the museum space?
I was born in Lower Hutt. Well, sorry, actually I was born in Wellington, but grew up in Lower Hutt with my mother, who was from Palmerston Atoll, and my father, who was Welsh.
Wow, have you ever been to Palmerston Atoll?
I have, yes, a couple of times. It's a 2-day boat journey. It's 500 kilometres from Rarotonga, so not many people live there, 35 I think, roundabout. So
Seriously?
Seriously, very small
population. And was Mum born there?
Mum was born there, yes.
And did she accompany you on one of those journeys?
No, she didn't, unfortunately. I went with an auntie of hers on the first journey in 1977 with my son, who was 6 months old. So,
what was that like?
That was scary because I didn't know anything about going on a boat for a day. We actually went up to Pukapuka first, then came down to Palmerston.
And how big is Palmerston? Are there cars on there, or do they have motorbikes like they have in Rarotonga?
They have a couple of motorbikes. There is no formal road at all. It took us an hour to walk around the island. It's not very big. The main island. It's a ring atoll.
And of course, everybody on the island would have been related. Yeah.
Pretty much, except for the minister, who's from another island.
Wow. And your interest in things museum, where did that come from?
That probably came, as children, we always went to the old museum in Buckle Street. As Dad would take us up there. He was interested in Māori carving, so he would go to look at the carvings in the marae there, or Tahoki Tūranga actually. At that time you could wander in and have a look. So that's why we went every school holidays.
And was it something that you studied, went to university, or?
I did, yeah. So in 1998, no, it was before, 1989, when they had Cook Islands language up at Victoria University. I really wanted to learn the language. I'm not a fluent speaker. So I went there and I passed my first papers. I thought, I can do this. So I just continued on, and anthropology was the subject that I got my degree in.
What was it about anthropology that piqued your interest?
It was about just the study of people, really, and I really enjoyed that. And we had a really strong Cook Island Students Association as well while I was there. But all through my life, I've always been a Cook Island focused person.
And then in terms of graduating from university, what was the first job that you got that started you on this career journey?
I got a first job as interpreter, an exhibitions interpreter at the museum for the Pacific exhibition. So that's where I started my journey in the museum.
And was the museum still up at Buckle Street then?
It was, yes. So there was a project office in Wakefield Street, which has now been built on by the event centre.
And were there other Pacific Islanders working at the museum at the time when you started?
There was Sean Mellon and Fuli Pereira, and Sean's been there at the museum since before I started.
Wow, and you would have been part of the discussions with regards to the development of the Te Papa Museum, tell us about the process in terms of our community having their say in how that Pacifica exhibition was put together.
So there were people from the community. Albert Wendt was one of the Samoan ones. There were Tokalone, I can't remember all the people who were involved, as well as, so they had an input into the design. So if there were issues or they thought that something else could be added, actually Reverend Sipali was the Niuean representative too. So they also had input into the design of the Mana Pacifica it was at that time. Now it's been replaced by Tangata Ole Moana.
A lot of our artifacts are in there. How much have we not seen? How much do we not see out there on the exhibition floor? As I understand it, because I've never been on the tour yet, hint, hint, there is a lot of Pacifica artwork in that collection.
There is. We have about 16,000 objects in the collection, but what's on display is less than 1% really. So, yeah.
And each object must have its own story. It must be fascinating for you as someone interested in anthropology to see all of those pieces from all over the region in that collection.
It's lovely. I get to learn so much about the people who made it or where it came from. Yeah, I do love it. And we try, when we have tours, and please do come and visit the back of house so that you can see what we do have. We try and tell a story, the history about an object or the story about the object. So, but a lot of it doesn't have stories, unfortunately. European collectors collected for aesthetic reasons. So William Oldman is one of the biggest ones we have, collectors, and he just liked the object. So unfortunately we have no provenance about what the maker was, where it came from, who made it, etc.
Are there objects in there that speak to you personally, that tell that informs your history and your story that from the Cook Islands? Yes,
there's a lot of te vaiwai. So since I've been working at the museum, we've increased the numbers. We're probably one of the biggest, got the biggest number of te vaiwai in any institution. Of course, makers have more than 100. I know that Jasmine Underhill, who was the deputy mayor of Puriroa, had over 100, and she showed me all her te vaiwai that she made. But we have 60, so that's pretty good, and we're still collecting because we want to collect for the makers now who have made te vaiwai so that we can build up the collection.
We Samoans, we value fine mats so much. And as I understand it, there are some very fine mats in that collection. And in recent years, I think Tupua Tamasese gifted a fine mat. Where do you store such valuable taonga?
So at the back of house, we have the correct storage for each of those objects. So, but the two finest ones at the moment that we have big drawers. so they can lie flat. And when we have tours, especially Samoans, they want to come and see these. Well, they see these two particular mats. But Tamasisi's one at the moment, because of the folds, it's up at conservation, so it's being relaxed so that it can then be put in the drawer as well.
Because it's been folded for so long, I guess they are wanting to make sure that the pandanus doesn't break when it comes down.
That's right.
Looking back on your career now, what are some of the highlights for you?
Oh gosh, there've been so many. We've had so many people through. We have a visitors book where people who do come in always write down. We get them to write down their name, etc. And we've had the King of Tonga visit last year. Was it last year? Early last year. We've had the Samoan Prime Minister. We've had the Vanuatu Prime Minister. The Cook Islands MPs come through. So we've had a number of important but very a lot of dignitaries come through.
What was the opening of Te Papa like for you as someone who put so much heart and soul into the development? What was that like?
It was amazing. There was so much going on. It was so well organised. In fact, there's so much. I've forgotten a lot about what happened, but a lot of singing, dancing, and lots of different community groups came in and helped.
And finally, Grace, congratulations on the Queen's honour. What does this mean to you?
It means that I don't know. I'm humbled. I want this award to be for something that my children can, I know they're proud of me.
Mei taki ma'ata, Grace Hutton, congratulations once again on being part of this New Year's Queen's Honours List, and we look forward to taking that tour.
Yes, please do come and have a visit, and maybe you'd like to bring some other people with you. We're more than happy to have you. We love having visitors come to the back of our store.
Speaking of that, if there are some of our listeners who are thinking, we want to do that tour, how can they contact you?
Just through the museum info email, and ask for a tour of back of house.
Wonderful.
Hopefully it's easier to have a group of people come at one time. So hopefully families will come and see things from their own island.
Wonderful. You're listening to Early Edition with it on your station, 531 PI, gone 21 minutes past 11 o'clock. Coming up at 11:30, our news appropriately in the Cook Islands.